Hey guys, welcome back to Trek on the Tube and welcome back to yet another review and Easter eggs video. Today we're talking about Star Trek Picard Season 1, Episode 2, Maps and Legends. Let's dive right in. So I like this episode less than the first. Originally, I was actually really let down by it, and I felt almost cheated by the corny, frankly, stupid plot that they seem to be setting up. But since then, I've rewatched the episode several times, and although there are still things that I find annoying, it has grown on me, and also I've come to realize that it was just one line of dialogue that left that bitter taste in my mouth, and I mean, come on. No, the episode is not bad because of that one line of dialogue. So concerning the episode itself, I think the pacing was not quite as well managed as in the premiere. Yes, most of what we saw on screen was exposition and setup before the season's story really picks up, and so naturally the episode had a necessary sluggishness to it, and that wasn't a bad thing. I mean, the scenes between Picard and Dr. Jurati or his old colleague from the Stargazer were great, even if they were slow. Those moments had a mood to them. It's hard to describe, but it's almost as if they added a certain melancholy to the show. The pacing problems I'm talking about rather lied with the back and forths between the Romulan reclamation site plotline and the Jean-Luc Picard events. It did feel more like stalling at one point, not so much setup. I did very much enjoy the fact that they showed us the attack on Mars in the beginning, however. I'm glad they didn't drag that out for too long and just came out with it. I mean, that's not the real mystery. That's just an event that leads into the story being told. So getting that out of the way quick was a really good move. Okay, so this one line of dialogue that didn't work for me. The Zhat Vash despise above all else AIs, androids, and any other sort of synthetic life form. What, and that's it? That's the plot? Look, I have no problem with the show revealing the existence of a truly secret organization that predates the Tal Shiar by thousands of years, but as it's explained in this episode, the sole purpose of the Zhat Vash is to protect a secret so profound and so terrible that just learning it can break a person's mind. Now, was that secret that they created Remans in a lab as sentient slaves for the Romulan Star Empire? No. Was that secret something like Romulans have become infertile, so for the past 200 years they've been stealing Vulcan embryos and placing them into Romulan females? No. Was it that the Zhat Vash themselves are actually responsible for the Hubble supernova and the destruction of Romulus and Remus because they want to cleanse the Romulan people and Senate? No. The secret is they just don't like robots. That's the secret that's so profound and so terrible it might break someone's mind. You know, unless I'm mistaken, but I mean, that's what I got from the episode. And that's supposed to be, what, the setup for the entire season? Like, this organization wants to capture Soji just so they can interrogate her, to find out where all the other synthetics are hiding so they can kill them because they don't like robots. I don't know. That feels dumb. Or underwhelming, you know, at the very least. I really hope either I misunderstood or that there's more to it. I really hope that there's more to this story. And, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. The rest of the episode was fine. I mean, yeah, there are details that, you know, we're going to talk about. The Starfleet Admiral cursing, for example, I don't know about that. I'm fine with the Admiral being so harsh with Picard, but the swearing, not so much. It's not that I'm old-fashioned. I mean, I swear quite a lot myself, you know, in real life. And I truthfully don't mind swearing in Star Trek, but I think it really has to be used carefully and within the right context. Brigands, bandits, outlaws, con artists, you know, the Harry Mudds or the Cyrano Joneses of the galaxy. I can see them using swear words. Also, a few civilians maybe, or, you know, colonists, friggin' miners on a colony far away somewhere out in space. I can see them using swear words, but not top brass Starfleet. Even if the show, or modern Star Trek in general, likes to ask the question, is Starfleet so perfect after all? I think that swearing should be kept to a minimum within the ranks, so I'm hoping this was an exception. Alright, moving on. I liked the crime scene investigation moment. I enjoyed that. I'm also intrigued by all of these Romulans disguised as other races posing as Starfleet officers. So, you know, story-wise, there are some good things happening. Regarding the technical aspects of it all, much like last week I have mostly praised. The show is just beautiful to behold. There are so many wonderful shots, it's incredible. The visual effects did feel a little weaker, if I'm honest. At one point I felt like we were moving through video game graphics, which was a shame, but it's not too bad. The only only scene that truly didn't work for me in the way it was lit and directed is when the two Romulan spies were talking. It was just lens flares over lens flares. It was too much. I mean, my goodness. Anyway, the performances are great, although we'll circle back to that. The costumes are good, the sets are nice, the location shooting is great, the music is very fitting. As I said, mostly praise. Yes, I do have my quarrels and my worries, but unlike Discovery, where I force myself to find the good in each episode so far, my nitpicks aren't nearly enough to make me call Picard a bad show. I know there's only 2 episodes out, and so this may seem a little premature, but I mean, honestly, as of now, I would most definitely call Star Trek Picard a good show. Alright, one final note before we move on to the Easter eggs and references, and I'm circling back to the performances. I know this is going to be a little controversial, but it's Sir Patrick Stewart's performance that I'm having the most trouble with. Or should I say, questions about. Now, his emotional performance is great. There's no questioning that. He's a fantastic actor, and he knows how to emote. It's rather his depiction of Jean-Luc Picard, the character, that seems ever so slightly off. It might very well be a creative decision to make the character feel more like Sir Patrick Stewart himself, but at times it almost feels like he's portraying someone else rather than Picard. This isn't criticism, mind you. This is more just a remark, because we do know that Picard is mentally ill, or has this mental illness, and that could be affecting his behavior. So the difference in portrayal of the character could in some way be linked or related to that. Who knows? But yeah, that's it. That's all it is. I just wanted to point that out. Maybe it's, completely done on purpose. We'll see. All right. Easter eggs and references. Let's go. The episode opens with the attack on Mars. We previously saw this attack in the short Trek's Children of Mars. This time, however, we are offered a different perspective, and I like that. Seeing things from different angles is always fun. I actually think this adds to the short's validity and rewatch value. We'd also seen some newsfeed footage of the attack in the previous episode of Picard. The attack is said to have taken place in 2385, 14 years ago, which confirms Picard to be taking place in 2399. On Mars, we see plenty of basically slave androids, which is very reminiscent to what happened to all the Mark I EMHs in Voyager. The android we follow is designated F8, clearly a play on words with fate. He has yellow eyes, just like Data, and he smiles like Data as well. Technology-wise, we see plenty of shuttles throughout the episode. These are the ones that were used in Discovery. The ones on Mars resemble the Argo shuttle from Nemesis quite a bit, and that's because they are in actuality a rejected concept design that was proposed for that shuttle, for that very movie by John Eves back in the day. This shuttle, I can't make out whether it's a Mark 7 or a Mark 8, or even if it is one of those, but one thing is for certain, it looks very much like the shuttles that we saw in The Next Generation. It's really awesome to see all of these different shuttle, variations and types flying around at space. It only makes sense, so thumbs up for that. This is a pad, something that we see pop up in Star Trek all the time. These comm badges look a lot like the ones we saw every time Star Trek of the 90s wanted to show us the future. Of course, every single one of those episodes always ended up by, changing the timeline, and so those comm badges always remained representative of some sort of alternate future. That could explain why they are different here, but, similar. This other comm badge is Picard's from the Next Generation movies. In the background of the Admiral's office, we can see a map that looks a lot like the ones featured in the book Star Trek Star Charts. Just to be clear, that book and its content are not canon. It's just stuff that, was inspired by the old Star Trek shows. But ever since Discovery's been on the air, and I think maybe the Kelvin timeline as well, the shows have been referencing stuff from the book. Alright, we carry on with the Starfleet headquarters lobby. They have these huge holograms of iconic vessels. One hologram is the Enterprise D, Picard's old ship. The other is, I would say, Kirk's Enterprise, but they use the Discovery version, so Pike's. Throughout the episode, we see plenty of different Romulans, some with ridges, some without, some with more pointed ears, some with pronounced eyebrows. It's so great to see this. Finally, an iteration of Star Trek that doesn't limit itself to showing its own version or just its own interpretation of each species. It's great. There are so many different style of Romulan that have existed throughout the years of Star Trek, and this goes for so many different races. It's nice to see many variations on screen. Infinite diversity in infinite combinations. Or in this case, infinite diversity in Star Trek Picard. These, by the way, are Andorians, and they look a lot like the ones from the original series. This character is a Trill, we've heard about them. Small nitpick, this is clearly the same actor with the same makeup and the same wig, but at two completely different places in universe at the same time, and it's a shame that they did this because it does stand out. Moving on, the episode mentions the Klingon Empire and the Gorn hegemony. We hear the names Riker, LaForge, and Worf, suggesting that all three are still alive and well. Laris and Zhaban, the two Romulans that help out Picard, are revealed to be ex-Tal Shiar agents. The organization was first featured in The Next Generation, but really expanded upon in Deep Space Nine. Laris mentions Romulan ale, an alcoholic beverage mentioned so much in Star Trek we could almost make a drinking game out of it. She also says that Romulans never use cybernetics because Romulans hate synthetic life forms to an extent barely describable. But as everyone online has already mentioned, there is this one episode of The Next Generation where a Romulan looks at Data and tells him he knows plenty of cyberneticists that would love to get their hands on him. At face value, this is a continuity error, but if you wanted to twist it and turn it to try and make it make sense, you could just say that the cyberneticists that this Romulan is talking about, they work on the underground, they're all hidden, and so they don't have much resources, and so yeah, they would be very interested in getting their hands on Data and seeing the technology used to create him. This character, Dr. Benayoun, brings with him a few Easter eggs as well, the first being the USS Stargazer. He apparently served on that ship during Picard's first command. The Stargazer was mentioned a few times on The Next Generation, and a model of it was featured in last week's Picard episode. During this discussion, he mentions an abnormality in Picard's parietal lobe, which is a clear reference to the Irumodic syndrome he has that was first revealed in The Next Generation finale. I've always wondered if this problem arrived when he did the mind meld with the very sick and dying Sarek. Sarek had a mental illness that was killing him at that time as well, and so I wonder if both are related. I know that this thing doesn't seem contagious, and it's not the same illness, but this is the future. It's aliens. Anything's possible. The Romulan posing as a Vulcan, Commodore O, is the first Commodore we've seen since the original series, so I don't know if they removed and brought back that rank at some point, or if they're just not very common so we don't see much of them. Another noteworthy thing is she's in yellow. I was under the impression all command officers wore red in this time period, but I mean, she's head of security, so maybe she kept her uniform from before. I don't know, maybe they changed the colors. Whatever. On her desk is this, which looks like an old Vulcan artifact known the Kashara, featured in Enterprise. I won't explain what the artifact is, as not to spoil the episode too much, but I think it's safe to assume what's on the Commodore's desk is just a copy, or a model, of the original. And that's pretty much it. Daj apparently went to, Regulus, Regulus 3. I don't fucking know. Regulus 3, Science Academy. She went to that school, and that school has already been mentioned once in Deep Space Nine. One of Jake's girlfriends went to that school. She was accepted to it. And the final Easter egg is a musical one when Picard arrives at Starfleet headquarters. The first few notes of The Next Generation, or yes, the motion picture theme, can be heard. Okay. That's it. I know my reviews always come in a little late compared to, other YouTube channels, but honestly, it's a good thing I do this because it helps me reflect on the episode, to see it multiple times, to think about it for a few days. It also helps me a lot when reviewing these episodes, to see what other people think online. It gives me time to rewatch the episodes, to find the Easter eggs. I'm rambling on. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your patience. You're all amazing people. Remember to like, subscribe, share with your friends. You can support this channel on Patreon, like all of these wonderful people. And that's it. Live long and prosper.